each job we address at a foreman's meeting, I listen to foremen and I listen to what their problems are, what their solutions are, and what's worked and what hasn't worked. And I will take that and incorporate. I'll listen to multiple foremen give their information, and then I take that information and I listen to it and I hear it. I hear what they're saying when they run into a problem, what's working, what's not. I think people's experience and listening to their experiences is huge. Don't be don't be sidetracked at a foreman's meeting. Don't be checking your emails. Don't be doing this and that. Pay attention to what's going on around you. That's what that's designed to do, is to give everybody in there all the information from multiple people with 30, 50 years experience. So for myself, I listen to their experiences and I try to use it in my tasks. How I contribute the most is the same way. I explain what I'm having problems with. I ask for help. I communicate. I think communication's a big deal. I think as a foreman, we somewhat develop a little bit of an ego that I know what I'm doing. And I've been doing this for my whole life. I'm 47 years old, and since I was 4 years old, I've been on a job site. And there's still things I don't know, and I ask for help. I'll ask a superintendent, a more experienced foreman, what's working for them and what's not working for them, what's worked and what hasn't worked, and incorporate that in my daily aspect. Sometimes I'll get knowledge and experience from mechanics that just started 3 weeks ago. So I think I keep an open mind and hear what's going on around you. So if I were a young foreman going to my first foreman meeting, I'm going to use a line that I'm sure a lot of people have heard before, and that is, the only dumb question is the question you don't ask. Going to my first meeting, I'd have questions, because obviously you don't know the system. Obviously there's things out there that you're just not prepared for. And unless you ask, you won't know. Do not be afraid to ask that question. Do not feel like somebody's going to look at you and be like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Because anybody that truly knows what they're doing will respect that you're asking questions you don't have the answers to.
We've had foreman's meetings here in Kansas City for several years, probably starting in 92, 93 by Jeff Kelly. And when I first started coming to him, a few years later after I became a foreman, they were pretty intimidating. It's kind of like you just get grilled. It's like a Thursday morning grilling. And what happens is, over the years, you start running your jobs better, and you can turn that around and you can start grilling them. That's the one thing I glean out of a meeting, is when you get stuck and you don't know how to do something, you got a whole wealth of experience around that table, either office personnel or field guys. And the main thing to remember, nobody knows everything, and there's always tricks to the trade that can be passed on, and what you think is common knowledge, sometimes it's not. Because we do so much cool stuff. You've never done it before, but somebody else around the table may have. Or if you start having a problem and you're not hitting production, it's like, why? You may be doing something totally wrong or overkill, and there's somebody around that table that knows, and you can get it out of it. The meeting is a two-way street. You can get information, or you can give information, and you can get information. You know what I mean? There's the office people want to know answers, and so do you. So you need to have those questions ready. And probably the things I get personally is where the manpower is. Who do I have on my job, and are they the right people for that particular task? And then I like, as you might call it, just being nosy, but I tend to want to know where other people are, what they're doing, when their job's going to be over, because it's like, man, it's almost like the NFL or any team sport. It's like, if you can pick up a free agent player that can really help you out, and you can make some trades, on personnel, and he's like, or this job's slowing down. I need to get rid of two, but you sure don't want to lay them off. I want to stick them over here. Now the Kansas City branch, and like other branches, you get super busy in our busy season, and you're always going to find a place to put them. But I've heard some comments from people, and they'll say these are a waste of time. I didn't get nothing out of it. All we're going to do is, eat a donut and get, uh, yelled at for something. What that means is that's a foreman who usually are trying to do everything themselves and not ask questions like they got it under control. And sometimes the guy just needs to say, this isn't going very well, or whatever, or they'll blame the bidding process or the project manager for making a mistake. Well, if they're making a mistake and it's making your job hard, say something. And that gets me to my point here. A squeaky wheel gets the grease. So the more you can, if you got a problem, let it out there and get it fixed. Because it's an old saying, but it's very true. So, yeah, sometimes a guy just needs a little bit, somebody to come and bail him out. It's kind of like, I got to get this done because next week is supposed to rain the whole week. Well, let somebody know that. Maybe they can spare some guys. Maybe they can spare some equipment. Maybe they got a piece of equipment they're not using. It's kind of it's supposed to be a collaboration of thoughts and you're mixing all the jobs together and getting some good out of it.
Me first coming into a foreman's meeting, you don't think about all the benefits until you start really coming in, where it might be week to week. Those jobs will eventually make it to you, and how these older foremen and the co-workers experience actually helps out a lot. You have your foot in the door basically when you're walking into a job site. I think that's definitely something that you need to take in and embrace, because a lot of these guys, before you know it, they'll be out retired, and you're the guy that the other guy's listening to. So I would say identify each and every foreman for their highest qualities, and kind of go after that. We have finishers, we have tuck pointers, we do a lot of coding. I would say that everybody's got a strong, we might all know how to do it, but everybody's got a strong within. So I think you just take notes and you just realize who's doing what and how they're doing it, and whenever you get a chance, ask questions. And I think that's the key to not having a hard time on your own job. You can always ask questions. You always have these people around that can show you a better way. So the notes, take notes and just take everything in. I think it's the attitude. I think having a positive attitude is what's going to help you, but not having one is definitely going to influence people in the wrong way, or try to bring people down. You gotta push it. You gotta have good confidence and have an open mind when you show up to these meetings, because there's always something you can take from it, whether it's good or bad. I think as long as they ask questions, for me, it makes me think like they're actually interested. They actually want to do better, and that alone, having that makes me want to help them in whatever possible. If somebody's committing themselves to actually asking a question and just leaving, I think that's awesome. I think that he's gonna do very well.
All right. As far as foreman meeting goes, what at this branch here, we have to have all of our paperwork ready, and every Thursday morning at 6:30, we have to have all of our paperwork. We have to know where our production is. We have to know where we stand at a job. We have to, so all your paperwork, your 3-week look ahead, everything better be squared up and ready to go, because they're going to ask you where you stand, what your production rate is on each individual item. You go through all that. You go through safety first, obviously. what's the good thing about the performance meeting is you know we get to talk about if someone has a difficult item they're doing on a job, we all sit around and we troubleshoot it here and, and have everybody think about problems, and it helps out all the other jobs real well, like that, doing stuff like that. Basically, it's a production meeting. Our meeting, it's a safety meeting and production meeting is what our foreman meeting is about. Is what it's about. We go over safety. We hammer that hard first thing. Any problems, and then we go over our production on the jobs. And then every once in a while there will be a problem on a job. Someone's having a problem doing something, and then we'll all put our heads together and try to figure out a better way of doing something. But other than that, and then you try to get out there without getting yelled at. I recorded that too. Well, it's true. Come prepared. Have all your paperwork ready to go. Be able to answer questions when they ask you where your production is. Hit your production. Our foreman's meetings here in Seattle are taken seriously, right? They're not. You're getting paid to come in the morning and do this. It's 100%. They ask you a question. They want the answer. They don't want you to beat around the bush and say, "Oh, I left this at home. I did this." They ain't standing for that. You got to know where your production is. They're going to ask you production. You're going to give it to them. They're moving on. Is if you're not tracking your job correctly, or you don't, if you won't know what the score of the game is, right? You have to keep score to know who's winning or losing. And so that's how they refer to it, as keeping track of your job. You have to know if you're winning or losing by keeping track of it. So if Seattle takes their foreman meeting very seriously. We've had other foremen that come from other branches here, and they can't even believe how ours is so much more demanding than theirs was. So I don't know. Ours is pretty. Yeah, got to have your stuff in a row here.